Welcome everybody to today's webinar. Today we are going to go through QuickBooks Enterprise company preferences together and hopefully learn all the things about our base foundation setup, is what I like to call it, when we're starting new files, or if we want to figure out how to use the system to its full potential. My name is Alisha Delancey. I'm a senior partner here at Fourlane, and very excited again to talk to y'all about this today. And I'm going to dive right in to our sample file that we've got. And I'm going to go to Edit, Preferences, and it opens up our Company Preferences window. This is where you'll find the two tabs. So My Preferences is really just user-based. That we aren't going to really touch on because it's unique to the user. What we want to talk about and focus on today is the company preferences. This is where you come in and you basically set it company-wide. And so these are the decisions that will apply across the board to everybody. Okay. So accounting, accounts, it's our very first one. So do we want to use account numbers? And if we check the box to use the account numbers, they are going to show up in our chart of accounts. If we decide not to use account numbers, we can uncheck this box and it doesn't make our account numbers go away. You can select it again and then it will pop back up. So I want to show you that really fast. So if we go to our chart of accounts, you can see these account numbers right here. And so these account numbers are what we are talking about within this preference. If I go back in to my company preferences and I unselect that, it now is going to remove those from the chart of accounts. And we can always easily add back. So when you go into your company financials and look at your balance sheet, you will not see any account numbers. You will just see the account name. Okay. So definitely something that I know I have talked to my clients about multiple times, and some love the fact that we can see those account numbers, and others don't really want them. And so definitely a preference up to you. You can also select to require accounts. That is something that typically we leave as a default. Now, the lowest sub account, I don't have hardly any clients that use this one. And so I'll show you really fast what it means. But if you want to select that, basically what you'll see is when you have the inventory and the sub accounts underneath it here, we call that parent sub relationship. And so if we select that box, check that box, basically it's going to make it all one level. So definitely makes a difference in the way that we have things and view in our chart of accounts. All of this is all related to the chart of accounts. Okay, so classes. Classes is definitely something that a lot of clients ask questions about. They really can use to their benefit. And there's a lot of different ways that we can use it. So the very first thing that I want to talk to you about on prompting to assign classes. So think about a class as potentially a department or a division, a revenue stream maybe. So it's all different things that you could use as classes. And so if we have a transaction and we want to make sure that we classify that transaction and put those dollars in the right bucket, we have the ability just to have the system prompt us and remind us to assign classes. If we select assign classes and the drop down here in Enterprise, there's 3 options. First one is accounts, which is our chart of accounts. And so if I select that, I now would be able to come in and create a new account. So we're going to look at, we'll just do an expense account. That's easy. And we can now set up an expense account specifically to a class. So you'll see it open up here. Same thing on if we were going to do items. So items is another option. Another one is our names. So think about our customers, vendors, it's your master list names. Okay, so a lot of fun different things that you can do with classes there. Automatically assign general entry number. If you want the system to basically create the next journal entry number for you, you would select this. If you want to create your own, unselect, and we don't have to worry about the system doing it for you. Warn when posting a transaction to retained earnings. So if we want to make sure that someone is being reminded and not just any normal transaction being recorded without any warning boxes, you would unselect this. But a lot of times it's just a reminder to go, are you sure you wanted to post to retained earnings? And so a lot of people will leave that there. Hide opening balance fields in names and items. This is one that I typically would select when we are setting up a file for a new client. And so if I go in to the customer center and I want to set up a new customer, you'll see this box here, opening balance. That is something that we would remove if we have that selected. Okay, if I want to go ahead and remove or hide that, right, show you that it is grayed out, but we don't want to just have one lump sum open balance here and it being posted to open balance equity. We want to be able to truly create and identify where those balances go and individual transactions. So definitely something that we can help with if anyone has questions on that, but recommending hide opening balances, but that is the box to check. And then date warnings. So warn if transactions are 90 days in the past. You can make this change to 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But this is just to help when we are all humans and hit the wrong keys. It is a system warning that, hey, maybe we don't want to post things 90 days in the past. Warn if transactions are 30 days in the future, and so you can change that as well, 30, 60, 90, and the system will remind you, hey, this is in the future. Are you sure you want to do this? We do have a bunch of videos also for month-end close and closing date. But the closing date, when you are clicking on that set date password, another box opens up, and this allows for you to set that closing date. You can exclude estimate, sales orders, purchase orders. So those are your non-financial posting transactions from the password if you want to. Password protection, I should say. And so this basically would allow those transactions to be modified regardless of that closing date. And then you would set your date and put your password here. I like to put my password as my name. So when clients are entering that in, they remember me telling them only use this password if you really really want to change your financials going backwards, because most likely you're going to have to call me. So hopefully you get a kick out of that as much as they do. In the system, if anyone does post a transaction, in a closed period, you can go into the closing date exception report and see the list of transactions that have been modified with this password. All right. So our benefits and HR, this allows for us to be able to track workers' comp. We can also display and assign codes if we need to. Include overtime premium for workers' comp calculations. Now, this is definitely something that we would have to know how we would want to handle these specific things related to workers' comp before making those decisions. All right, bills. So bills are due 30 days after receipt. You can modify and change this number if you want to do 30, 60, 90. This is just a default. So anytime that you enter it in, it will default to this 30 days. And then highly recommend that we want to warn about duplicate bill numbers from the same vendor. If you don't want that, you would uncheck it, but definitely usually one that everybody keeps. So paying bills, do we want the system to automatically use credits and apply those? Or you would uncheck this if you want to be the one to determine which credits are being used, okay? The automatically used discounts, this is where I would have like a 2% net 10. And so the system's automatically going to calculate the discount for me. And this default account can basically be set to the account we want it to. Right now, the system defaults that to another income account, but sometimes people want to put that to like a cost of goods sold account. And so then you would modify that here. We also have bill payment. So you can set a bill payment sub template for email and printing. And so there is a standard one here. If we wanted to create that, we would do that under template. All right. So our calendar, nothing under company preferences. That's a user specific one. So it'll be under my preferences. Our checking account. So I know we're going fast. There's a lot to go through in 30 minutes here. So just keep bearing with me. I am checking our questions and trying to make sure that I can also answer those as well. If you don't have any of the preferences that I am showing, remember, I am in QuickBooks Enterprise 2024, the latest version. So it may be something that your license may not have, but I have kind of the full, like everything turned on, okay? Our checking, we want to select this box for print account names on voucher. This would be the general ledger account names when we're printing this out. So you would select that if you wanted that to be printed. A lot of times people leave that off. And then change check date when non-cleared check is printed. I don't have a lot of clients that turn this one on either. A lot of times they'll just void it and recreate, but it is something that if it hasn't cleared and it needs to be printed, you can change that date. Start with payee filled on check. So want to just show you that here. So I'm going to actually hit cancel, but if I go in and I write a check, you'll see at the top, the bank account is the very first thing that I have. If I've got multiple bank accounts, I may not want that box to be selected, that preference. And so that way, if we leave it unchecked, that way we have the ability to actually identify our bank account that we're writing from. So go back to our preference. Warn about duplicate check numbers, highly recommend that. We don't want to be sending out the same check multiple times, might have a hard time with that one. Autofill payee account number in check memo. So let's just give an example on this one. This could be if I've got a utility company and I want to have my account number print on my check so that the utility company knows exactly which account number to apply to. Our default account, so we can select the create paycheck and the default, see if I can get that here, the default account we want it to go to. So if you have a separate bank account just for payroll, this would be a good one for you to default to at the company level. And then the same thing for payroll liabilities. If you're paying it out of a different one and you want it to always default out of there, you can do that as well. Our bank feeds, so 3 options now. Back in the day, we had the classic mode, which I don't know if anyone uses that at all. If you do, I definitely would like for you to know that there's a whole new world out there, and it is super easy in the advanced mode, but maybe one day into it, we'll get rid of that. Express mode, it is kind of a step above that classic register mode. The advanced mode is the latest one after the 21 update, and it's more of a dashboardy fill, but we will have preferences and videos that are more specific to bank feeds, so you can tune into those. All right, desktop view. I think this is one where when I'm looking at a client's file, I like to look at this just to see really fast, what do we have on, right? And so these are things that if I am using invoices, sales receipts, statements, right, I can, see very quickly in one spot all of these icons that are on my home page, right? And the features that I have active in the system. So here, if I don't want to use sales receipts, which let me show you real fast. This is our sales receipt. So if I don't want to use that, I turn that off. It's got to close all the windows, open it back, and it's gone. It didn't disappear. It's not gone from the system, but basically it's gone from the home page, right? And so I have that ability to be able to turn it on and off. So these are all the icons. And then these are ones that are set in other tabs within the preference window, and they just show general if they're on or off. And if you click in blue, right, it'll take you to that preference, okay? So that is our desktop view. Now, finance charge. Finance charges, if we want to do an annual interest rate, you could put your percentage here. That's on an annual level. The minimum finance charge, I love the fact that they have a dollar here. Not really sure if I would want to go forth the effort of a minimum dollar charge. So maybe we would do something like a $25 minimum fee. You could update that here and save that. And then the grace period, number of days that we're going to give it grace period, you would add that 30, 60, 90, whatever your company would like to do. And then our default finance charge account, this would be selected and what account everything would go to for finance charges. You can assess finance charges on overdue finance charges. So I charge them first time $25 for a minimum finance charge. And then now, do I want to assess charges on that $25 moving forward? So check that box if the answer is yes, uncheck that box if the answer is no. calculate charges from due date or from invoiced billed date. So a lot of times it's from due date, the default here, but you have the option. And then finance charges, invoices to be printed. So are those going to be printed on our basically statement or transaction to the customer or not, right? Either way there. Okay, so general. These are things that, again, company level. So how do we want to see our time format? Do we want it in decimal or in minutes? That's just a preference, basically. Always show years as 4 digits, so 1999. Never update name information when saving a transaction. So if this is unchecked, it is going to save it. If we check it, it won't save updated information. So let me give you an example here. If I have a email address that I've updated for a customer, or I've changed a customer's bill address on a transaction. If I hit save, most of the time the system will say, do you want to update the customer's information? Yes or no. That's what this box is. Save transactions before printing, typically that's required. You would uncheck if you didn't want that. Allow sorting on transaction forms. So this is one where if we wanted to be able to sort those columns, right? Trying to find, here we go, sort columns A to Z, we would be able to do that within here. So good preference, definitely something that, you know, it helps people for sure. All right. Allow our sorting. So then manage login settings. So we can log off every time a user closes the company file or exits, or we can keep the user logged in for, and we can select the days. My recommendation is always to log a user out so their session doesn't get hung up. Definitely recommend that. So integrated applications, what does this mean? There's applications that can integrate directly with QuickBooks. This is where you'll see them. It also allows for you to be able to grant access or even reauthorize if we need to, remove access. And so this definitely is, you know, the way to eliminate manual data entry a lot of times. Inventory. So inventory and purchase orders are active. This is selected, which has allowed for our purchase order icon to show up. This new feature, link and track sales order line items with purchase orders. It also allows for us to be able to have a new report. And so we have the ability to now see items at the sales order line item with the purchase order. We definitely want to be able to then generate a report to see. So this sample file isn't really showing us any. Gotta love that example. Love the sample files, but you would then see PO date, what has been created and linked together. All right, I know I'm going fast, guys. Ask any questions that you have in the box, and I'm going to get to them as soon as I possibly can. If anyone can stay a few more minutes, I might be going over, but I am trying to go through everything as fast as I possibly can. So we can warn about duplicate purchase order numbers that can be helpful, so we're not sending out the same PO number over and over. The calculating quantity available, this is definitely something that allows us to set our demand preferences. So do we want to have quantity reserved for a pending build, or do we want to also include quantity on sales order? So if our item is listed on either one of these, it's going to either, depending if our boxes are checked, it be included in our quantity available or not. Warn if not enough inventory to sell across all sites. So when the quantity I want to sell exceeds quantity on hand, when the quantity I want to sell exceeds quantity available, or do not allow negative quantities. So a lot of times people, they, go back and forth. Do I want to allow negatives? Do I not? It is definitely something that negative quantities, well, in reality, you can't sell something you don't have. So definitely see all of our videos about advanced inventory settings and more detail about that. Our unit of measure, so you do have the ability to do single unit of measure or multiple unit of measure. The multiple unit of measure multiplier capabilities are great in Enterprise. And so this is definitely something that if you need it, I would highly recommend. Enhanced inventory receiving. So this is a feature that if you enable it, you cannot turn it off. If you want it to enable it, you would push that button here. Cost, automatic cost and price updates. So markup percent over cost, or you have the option to say amount over cost. So you can mark up, and that's for all items. For non-assembly items, if item cost changes on a purchase order, you have a couple of options. These options are either, now this is the default, ask about updating item cost. That's that annoying box that I have a lot of people say, what is this for? So you can change that. Always update item cost or never update item cost. Assemblies, you can use auto update BOM cost on assemblies, or BOM, when BOM costs change, update sales price. So that's where you would change those. Jobs and estimates, these are the basically the statuses, and you can come in and change. So if you don't want to say awarded and you want to say won, you can do that here. And again, if anyone can hang out for a few more minutes, I am wrapping up. I know there's a lot left, but these last ones go pretty fast. And again, like I said, there's so much to learn in preferences. Typically, we spend 2 hours with clients to go through this in detail. So trying to make sure I can give you everything that we possibly can talk about in our webinar today. So do you create estimates? Yes or no? Progress invoicing is here. You do have the ability to select if you want to print items that have zero amount. So if I have 25 line items, but just one has a dollar value, all the other ones that are zero can be for internal purposes, and we won't print those out to the customer to see. And then warn about duplicate estimates. Multiple currencies, that's options are here. So if you have more than one, you would select yes, and then the currencies that you use. Payments, payments are definitely something that this has totally improved over the years. And so I'm going to spend a couple of seconds on this. So automatically apply payments when we receive them. Automatically calculate payments. That's when maybe a customer pays 10 invoices and I don't want to have to put an amount first in the receive payment window, and I want to just select my 10 invoices and let the system do the calculating for me. That's this option here if you want to do that. And then undeposited funds, that's where all of your received payments can go to this specific account. And then from there, you would deposit in. If you unselect this, you would basically have to select the bank account that you would want to deposit your payments to. And then there's a template, and this template is one that you can update if needed. Online payments, so this is the ability to be able to allow always customers to pay online or via credit card or ACH. And then prepayments, this is a new setting. Definitely something that we will have a video on, but you would be able to turn on prepayments and select your preferences here for that. Payment reminders, if we would want to turn those on, yes, and then you can prompt at a specific time and then identify how frequently you would want those reminders to be done. Payroll, a whole new, whole separate thing. And so all payroll related activities would be here. Payment reminders, so this is something that you could do at the summary level, list level, or don't remind me at all, and identify how many days you would want that to be done. On our reporting, you can do accrual or cash basis. You also can, in the body of the report, switch between accrual and cash at any point in time. Aging reports, you can age from due date or you can age from transaction date. Our reports, we can have reports on shown items by name only, description only, or name and description. Can get pretty lengthy. I typically recommend name only, but the default is the name and description. Reports to show accounts by name only, name and description, or description only here. You can set up your statement of cash flow and identify what accounts you would want in the different buckets, and then also your formatting here. Our cells and customers, this is where you would be able to set your default forms. You can warn about duplicate invoices and sales receipts. You also have the ability to do your enable collection center. You can enable sales orders, of course, that then opens up the icon, warn about duplicates, and then don't print items with 0 amounts. Okay, custom templates here. And then if we want to sell or not sell for past due customers, and then custom pricing, this is that option here. Sales tax, if you have to track it, use it. It's an amazing feature. We have a whole webinar on that, and definitely something that is turned on here, and you can track either at the accrual level or cash level. And then the other really important thing is if you track 1099s, you would say yes and be able to fill out the form. And then time tracking, my very last thing, and I know I'm over. If you track time, you would say yes, and then you would basically identify your first day, mark as time entries all as billable, create invoices if you want here. So if you're doing T&E expense invoicing, you would do that here. Track reimbursed expenses as income. Mark all expenses as billable. Some of my clients have loved the fact that you can select this box and no more expenses are showing up there. So definitely a handy one. And then if you want to do a default markup percent and the account, that would be here, okay? And the mileage is a whole new webinar video series, but the advanced or the basic. Thank you so much.